He received MTech degree from NIT Warangal. Later, he worked at different institutions. Now he is pursuing his PhD from NIT Warangal. Presently working as associate professor in Chalapati Institute of Engineering, Guntur. He is a faculty advisor of for IGS student chapter of KHIT, Guntur. He has published 7 papers in national and international journals and presented 8 papers at national level conferences. Thank you for this for giving this opportunity. Sir, can you proceed, sir?
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Thank you
Okay,
for
thank
your
you, sir.
kind introduction.
Thank you, sir.
I will share my screen now.
Yes, sir.
Hope this is visible to everyone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good morning, one and all. Welcome to this online webinar session on side distance elements in pavement. So here, this is one of the very important concepts in the highway engineering. So whenever we are going to design any pavement, then we are going to have the elements of side distances. So here, let us see what is the side distance and
Good morning, sir.
yes, please.
Hello.
So here the side distances are one of the important parameter in the design of pavement. So let us see what is the side distance and what are the different side distance elements and how to get those values also. So here before going to the actual concept of side distance, first let us discuss what are the things that we are going to do on a highway when we are traveling in a car or on a bike or any other vehicle. So for that one, just observe this one. Here we are having the road surface and my vehicle is here. I am moving in this direction. So other vehicles are also moving on the same road surface at the same time. Now when I am moving in this vehicle, I need to observe the vehicles traveling on the same path and in the opposite direction also. Why we need to observe? Because to avoid the accident and to have the safe and comfortable journey, it is very important for us. Whenever I am having a vehicle here, so I need to see that vehicle from certain distance and I need to avoid the collision with that particular vehicle. That means I need at least certain distance that can be visible for me while driving. So the distance which can be visible to the driver, that can be called as the side distance. So the side distance can be called as the whatever the distance that is visible to the driver at any point of time during his or her journey. So again in this side distance we are having some other terminologies also. What are the different types and all those things? Let us move on to the actual concept. So these are the contents of my presentation. Side distance element, types, what are the requirements of side distances, and stopping side distance. In that we are having the factors influencing and analysis of stop sighting distance. Another one is overtaking side distance, and again in this I am having the again factor and analysis. So let us see the content one by one. So this is the side distance element. So already I mentioned what is the side distance. In simple, in general, this can be called as the length of the road visible ahead to the driver at any instant. This is the generalized statement. But if I need to have certain technical definition, because as an engineer we need the definitions in terms of the technical words. So then this is the definition of that one. It is the actual distance of a driver with his high level at a specified height above the pavement surface, has a visibility of any stationary or moving object, specified height which is on the carriageway head. So in brief, just forget about the definition. Let us focus on the basic concept of that one. So here, please observe this. I am having two vehicles. This is vehicle 1, this is vehicle 2. So inside we are having the driver. Can anyone say in which condition the line of sight is going to be higher, either the first condition or second condition? So the driver, if this is the road surface, if this is the road surface, then the line of sight is going to be here, and here we are going to have the more higher line of sight, whereas in this one we are having the lesser line of sight. The reason is here the position of the driver is higher from the ground level. With reference to the ground level, the position of the driver's eye is at a higher point when compared to the second case. So depending upon this height available to the driver, then this sight distance is also going to be varying. This is one of the important parameter. And at the same time, what is the object in the opposite direction? What is the object in the opposite direction? If you observe this diagram, here I am having one vehicle which I am moving in this one, and the opposite vehicle is here. So if you observe this one, both are similar vehicles, so the line of sight and the object height is going to be same. In general, in the practical application, this may not be possible. That means the height of the object which is ahead of us is not the same as ours. Then in that case, what we need to do and what are the different practical constraints here? In general, when you are traveling on a state highway or a district highway, there may be a possibility of crossing of the animals. Then the animal's height may not be the same as that of your eye line of sight. Then there may be a problem for us to identify such animals, especially when you are having the dogs or any other such small animal. Then the time required for us to assess the condition may be high. So here, depending upon these two, we are going to have the sight distance of a given point at any point. In short, the sight distance can be given as the length of the road. It can be given as the length of the road visible ahead to the driver at any instant. So in the next slides, we are going to see what are the requirements and what are the types. So if you observe this one, whatever I mentioned in the previous slide. So here we are having I am having the vehicle here, and the line of sight is going to be in this direction. So the driver's eye level is this one, 1.2 meters above the ground surface. This is as per IRC recommendation. And the line of sight is like this. And if you observe this one, here the height of object is only 0.15 meter only. But here the driver's eye is at a height of 1.2 meters, whereas here the object height is 0.15 meter only. So here, this is as per IRC recommendation, the minimum height of the object that we can observe while traveling in a vehicle, and for designing of any pavement, the minimum height to be considered is 0.15 meters. Can anyone say why this is fixed to only 0.15? Why can't be 0.1 or 0.05 or even 0.5 also? Why it is limited to 0.15? Any guess from the participants? I think you can mute yourself, is it? Okay. Here, the reason why we are going for this 0.15 is if the object is very less, then the driver may not be able to observe such a small height objects like 0.1 meter, it's nothing but 10 centimeters or 5 centimeters, then there will be more chances of collision with that object, and your vehicle may be damaged and person also can be damaged. So the accidents may be occurred. So to avoid that one and to have the proper safe distance in the highways, this has been given as the 0.15 meter. This is on a highway or any straight road. But whereas whenever we are having the intersection like this, please observe this one. This is the intersection of a 4-lane road. So on 4 directions, we are having the traffic coming and they are going to meet at one particular junction. So here the main problem is the constructions which are there along these edges. If this along this one, if any building or any structure is there, then the vehicle coming in this direction may not be. One second, please. The vehicle coming in this direction may not be seen this vehicle. So what happen if I didn't see this vehicle prior? Then I will move with the speed and this vehicle is also coming with the some speed and these two vehicles are going to be collided at one point. So to avoid this one also, we need to take care of the construction along at the intersections of the road junction. And here, based on this intersection, we need to finalize the what is the stop side distance for this particular junction. And here, the side distances are not going to be same here and here. In both the cases, the side distances values are going to be different. Now, so why it is required for us? Why the side distances are required for us? So in general, it is useful for both geometric design and to have the traffic control also. If you observe the previous slide, here at the intersection or junction of the four roads, we need to regulate the traffic or we need to control the traffic flow. So in that case, I need to know what is the side distance value. Based on that only, I can have the smooth flow of the vehicles. So for that purpose, and for designing of the geometric elements, we need to have the side distance, one of the important parameters. So now, based on the situation, there are three side distances we are having. One is the stopping side distance or absolute minimum side distance. Second one is the safe overturning, overtaking side distance or passing side distance. Next one is the safe side distance for entering into uncontrolled intersections. So these are the three important parameters, side distance element. And in addition to these three, IRC has recommended, Indian Roads Congress has recommended another two, that is the intermediate side distance and headlight side distance. We will see what all these are. So here, just from the words itself, first observe stopping side distance, or absolute minimum side distance. So for this one, if I have the vehicle here, my vehicle, and I am moving in this direction, so here one object is there on the road surface. So what is the minimum distance required for me to stop my vehicle without having any collision with the object? So what is the minimum distance required? That is distance required to stop the vehicle without having collision with the obstruction. That means what is the safe distance? It is nothing but stopping side distance or absolute minimum side distance. Next one is especially on a national highways or state highways. When we are having like this and another vehicle is moving in the same direction, but it is moving with the very less speed, then in this condition I need to overtake this vehicle, then only I can travel my destination fastly. Otherwise, if I follow this slow moving vehicle, then I will be behind this vehicle only. So in this condition, I need to have certain safe distance to overtake this vehicle. That one we are calling as the safe overtaking side distance or passing side distance. Next one is, what is the safe distance to enter into a uncontrolled intersection? For example, please observe this one. Here, I am having the intersection. If there are some traffic signals and control is there on the traffic flow, then it is okay. But if there is no traffic control, that is no signal system, then it is very difficult for us to cross this intersection. So in that case, the side distance is going to be different from the normal side distances. So that one we are calling as the safe side distance for entering into the uncontrolled intersection. And IRC has given the another two terminologies for this one, that is intermediate side distance and headlight side distance. These two are another important observation. We will see these two in the next slide. Later we can have the in detail about the stopping and overtaking side distances. So here intermediate side distance. Is it possible to provide the overtaking side distance in all the junctions? Sometimes it may not be possible for us, especially when you are having the width of the road surface is very less and you are allowed for the traffic in both the directions, then it's not easy for us to go for the so it's not easy for us to go for the overtaking of a vehicle. So in that case, we are going to yes, sir? Okay. So here, in that case, when it is not possible for us to provide the actual overtaking side distance, then we are going for the intermediate distance, which is in between to the stopping side distance and overtaking side distance. That one we are calling as the intermediate side distance. In generally, this can be taken as 2 times the stopping side distance. Next one is the headlight side distance, very important, especially during the night time, and that too on a curves, especially we are having the valley curves also on a road surface. So in that case it is going to be very critical for upgradients and at the valley curves also. So here what is the distance visible to the driver during the night time under the illumination of vehicle headlights? So here, for example, if I am having the road surface like this, so I am moving in this one. Please observe. So here, the headlights are going to be focusing in this way up to here only. Then the distance visible is for me up to this point only. But what about this distance? So whenever the vehicle enters into the valley portion, then only I can have the visibility in this direction. So this is one of the important criteria to avoid the accidents, especially on a valley curves or the upgradient. This is the valley, and if I am having the steep curve like this, so I need to move like this, and my lights are going to have the distance of visibility up to this point only. Then what about the visibility of higher point? Then whenever the vehicle moves some more distance to the forward direction, then only I can have. So these two are very critical in avoiding the accident. The headlight side distance is very important in these two critical junctions or critical points of the pavement. Now, what are the different requirements of the side distance? If you observe the thing, so far we have discussed about the what is the safe distance to stop our vehicle, what is the safe distance to overtake another vehicle, what is the safe distance to enter into an uncontrolled intersection. So those three are our important requirements for us now. It is nothing but there must be some safe stopping distance. That means sufficient distance must be visible for the driver to apply the brakes and to stop the vehicle. And similarly, there must be sufficient overtaking distance to overtake the slow moving vehicle, and to enter into an uncontrolled intersection we must have certain clear visible distance, which is going to be safety for the driver. So these are the requirements, and in addition to this one, so if you observe here, in addition to this one, we are having the stopping side distance and the overtaking side distance. Already we have seen what is the stopping side distance. It is the minimum distance required or visible to apply the brakes and to stop the vehicle without any collision with the obstacle. So here on what factors this SST depends. One is the features of the road ahead, height of the driver's eye above the road surface, height of the object above the road surface. Please observe this one. Please observe this diagram. So here on a highway, this is the direction of the flow and this is my vehicle. So this is the line of sight I am having. This is the line of sight we are having. So this is the line of sight. So in this line of sight, if any obstruction is there, like any trees on a road surface or any road surface or any trees or any obstruction like any structure or anything, then there will be an obstruction in the line of sight. So this we need to take care. And as per IRC, already I have mentioned the height of the driver's eye is 1.2 meters and the object minimum height of the object is 0.15 meters. So please remember these two. While giving the definition, we need to mention these two parameters for the exam point of view, 1.2 meters and 0.15 meters. Capital H is the height of the driver's eyesight. Small h is the height of the obstruction. Height of the obstruction. Now, what are the different factors that influencing the stopping side distance? So if you observe this one, all are in general, we can observe this. Please observe total reaction time of the driver, speed of the vehicle, efficiency of the brakes, frictional resistance between the road and the tire, gradient of the road if any. So here just observe these five. What is the first one? Total reaction time of the driver. Can anyone ensure that all the drivers have the same reaction time? For example, this is the road surface. We are having the vehicles here. Three vehicles are there. So this vehicle has applied the brakes first. Initially, this vehicle has applied the brakes. Now, these two vehicle drivers has to apply the brakes because this vehicle applied the brakes and it has stopped. So to avoid the collision, all the vehicle drivers has to apply the brakes now. Now, can anyone ensure that these two drivers, the drivers of these two vehicles can have the same reaction time to avoid the collision? That we can't say. We can't say that both are going to have the same reaction time. For example, if this person has applied the brake so that the vehicle stops before the stopped vehicle, that is without any collision. Now here the reaction time of the driver is very less and very high reaction time. Then by the time he applied the brake, he has collision with this vehicle also. This may be happen in the practical conditions also. So that means how well the driver reacts to the situation. That is one of the important key parameters. The reason why I am saying key parameter is most of the accidents can be occurred in a split second. So by the time you close your eyes and open, by that time only it can be happen with a fraction of second. So if the driver is alert enough, then he can avoid the accident. So here the total reaction time is going to be one of the critical aspect of the accident studies also. And to have the safe and comfortable journey, the driver must be alert enough. Next one, what is the second one? It is speed of the vehicle, another important parameter. So here, if I am moving at a speed of 80 kilometers, if I am moving at a speed of 80 kilometers and another vehicle is moving at a speed of 40 kilometers, so who can have the least possibility of the accident? 40 kmph vehicle or 80 kmph? In general, it is 40 kmph. The reason is, since the vehicle is moving at low velocity, he can have the more visible distance and the brakes can be easily applied and the vehicle can be stopped suddenly also at low speeds. Whereas at high speeds, even if you apply the brakes also, the vehicle tend to move certain distance. It may be of half meter or 1 meter or whatever it is. It is going to move certain distance after applying the brakes also. So that is enough to cause the accidents. So to avoid this one, we must go for the as per the design speeds on the road surface, because all roads are not meant to for high speeds. Even for the national highways also, at certain junctions, they will reduce the speed of the vehicle to 40 or 60 or even 30 kmph also, especially when the intersections are there. So as per the guidelines or as per the allowable speed on that particular zone, one vehicle has to travel with the same speed only. Then only we can have the safe and comfortable journey. And another one is efficiency of the brakes. Efficiency of the brakes. We used to heard this statement, because of brakes fail, accident occur. It is in general scenario. If the brakes are not functioned properly, then obviously we are going to have the accident. So here, even if the vehicle is moving at 80 kmph or 40 kmph, if the brakes are not functioning properly, then obviously we can't stop the vehicle at the required location or before the collision of the object. So here, one of the major reasons for the accident is efficiency of the brakes. Next one is frictional resistance between the road and the tire. If you observe the vehicles are tend to skid mainly in the monsoon season or whenever the road surface is wet. Why it is happening in the monsoons only? The reason is, during the monsoon, the friction component between the road surface and the tire is going to be less. That is, the friction is going to be very less between the wet surface of the road and the tire. Because of that one, the brakes may not be applied properly and we are going to have the accident. Another one is gradient of the road. Already we have seen, if I am having the upward gradient, then the stopping side distance is going to be varied, and if I am having the downward gradient like valley curve, then the distance is going to be varied for these two specific conditions. In general, for a straight road surface where the gradient is almost zero, then in that case the side distance is going to be high, whereas when you are having the gradient like this, then the stopping side distance value is going to be less in these two cases when compared to the plain road surface. Now, so here let us discuss those parameters, total reaction time of driver and other parameters also. So here, the total reaction time of the driver can be divided into two parts. Please observe, this is the vehicle and this is the obstruction. So here, while traveling at a certain speed, it may be of 30 kmph or 40 kmph or 80 kmph, whatever it is. So when I am moving at a speed, then first I need to identify this object. I need to identify this object and I have to realize that there is an object stationed along my way and I need to apply the brakes. That means here it is the perception time. It is the time required for a driver to realize that brakes must be applied. So it is the starting of seeing the object and sending the signals to the brain, and again coming back to apply the brakes. All these things together we are having the perception time. Perception time. And once you decided to apply the brakes, then what is the time required for the brakes reaction? So immediately after applying the brake, is it going to stop? No, there may be certain movement of the vehicle. So again we are having the brake reaction time also. So in general, the brake reaction time can be given as PIEV theory. One of the important one for the question, exam point of view. So here, one is the perception, intellection, emotion, volition. This is the PIEV theory. PIEV theory. So here, perception, intellection, emotion and volition. Please observe this one. Here we need to send the signal to the brain and it has to analyze the situation and it has to send the signal to the other parts of the body to apply the brakes. So all this together we are calling as the PIEV theory. So what is all these four concepts? Perception time. It is the time required for the sensations received by the eyes or ears of the driver to be transmitted to the brake through the nervous system and spinal cord. Please observe this diagram. So here I am having and I have seen a deer. So first I need to observe, oh, one object is there. What is that first? Oh, it is a deer. So I need to stop my vehicle. So this one and intellection. So here first one is, first we need to receive the sensations and it has to be transmitted. Once that is transmitted, then the intellection in the brain, intellection process is going to start in the brain. Brain is going to analyze what is the object there. Oh, it is an object is there. So what type of object is there? Here, why I am mentioning the type of the object? Based on the type of the object, we need to react quickly. If it is a moving object towards you, then you need to react very quickly. If it is a moving object away from you, then you can take some time. And if it is a stationary point, then we need to react quickly also. So based on these conditions, one has to react. So that one we are calling as the intellection. So this intellection is nothing but different thoughts, regrouping, registering the new sensations. All these together, whatever the time required for all these sensations, we are calling as the intellection. Next one is emotion time. So here it is the time elapsed during the emotional sensation and other mental disturbances, especially when we are new to the driving. So some type of anxiety or fear or anger is going to be there in the driver. So he maybe feel like any anxiety or maybe he feel some fear. So all these things are going to be there in his brain. So all these emotions has to be overcome within no time. Then only he can apply the brakes. So next one is volition time. So it is the time taken by the driver for final action. So once it is going through the brain and it has analyzed and after overcoming emotions, he is going to apply the brakes. Up to that time, we are having the PIEV theory. So once I decided, in the previous one, I have observed the object is there and I have to stop the vehicle. So by the time of volition time, oh, I need to apply the brake. That I am going to realize. Then I will apply the brakes. So next one is speed of the vehicle. Already I have mentioned, if you are moving at the higher speed, then we may not stop the vehicle at the required point because of high amount of the velocities. The brakes may not function properly also. And efficiency of the brakes. Always ensure that the brakes are going to have the 100% efficiency to avoid the accident. And 1 second. So here, to avoid the skid of the vehicle, the braking force should exceed the frictional force between the wheel and the tires. This we need to ensure. Next, frictional resistance between the road and the tire. So already we have discussed this one in the monsoon, how this is going to be. And here the skid resistance is inversely proportional to the braking distance. Now, IRC has specified a design friction coefficient of 0.35 to zero point 0.4 depending on the design speed. So what is the friction coefficient as per the IRC codes? It is 0.35 to zero point 0.4 based on the design speed. So these are the, one second. I think I have given these values in the next slide. I will explain there. In general, the total stopping distance is the lag distance and the braking distance. So here I am having the object. So here my vehicle at the initial point. So I have seen the object. Then I need to react for this situation. So it will take certain time. Once I have decided to apply the brakes, I have applied the brakes. Even after application of the brakes also, my vehicle travels certain distance. So the total distance traveled during the first phase, that is driver attention and its reaction time. What is the distance traveled during the reaction time, and what is the distance traveled during after the application of the brakes? Total together we are calling as the stopping distance. So here how to get this one and how to get this distance also. Let us see these two. In general, please observe, we are having one formula, velocity is equal to distance by time. Already we know this basic formula. So distance is nothing but velocity into time, is it? Now you know what velocity you are moving. If the velocity is 60 kmph, 60, and the total reaction time, it may be 2.5 or 5 seconds or whatever it is. Then the product of the speed of the vehicle and the reaction time, you are going to get the distance traveled during the reaction time. That is your lag distance. That is your lag distance. And similarly, we are going to have the braking distance also. Similarly, we are going to have the braking distance also. Now, let us see these things in detail. So, as I mentioned in the previous slide, distance velocity into time is going to get the lag distance. So here we are having two types of velocities. One is in meter per second, another one is kmph. So whenever you are having the meter per second, directly use the small v. If you are converting to kmph, multiply with this factor 0.278 into v, or pi by 18 also there. So here, as per IRC, the average time we are going to take for the reaction of any driver, average period is 2.5 seconds. This is in general, but in the practical condition this may be less or high. Some drivers may react very spontaneously and their reaction time may be 2 seconds, and some may take more time. They may have the reaction time of 3 to 4 seconds also. It's all depend on the again the practical constraints also. So but in general, as per IRC, this is the value. In the exam, if they ask any numerical on this concept, if they haven't mentioned anything, you have to take the reaction time of the driver as 2.5 seconds as per IRC. That you need to take. Please remember this value. Next, what is the braking distance? So here, while applying the brakes, please observe this diagram. The frictional force is coming into the picture. The frictional force, this is the vehicle tire and the road surface is there. So when I apply the force, there is a frictional resistance between the road surface and the tire. So here the total weight of the vehicle is W, and we know what is the frictional component. If the normal force is W, coefficient of friction into that normal force from the physics. So again the work done is going to be force into distance. Work done is nothing but force into distance. That force is we are calling as the capital F, which can be written as F, small f into W, and the braking distance is L. We need to determine this L value only. So how to get this one? In general, the vehicle moves at a velocity. Whenever an object is having certain velocity, the total energy is going to be having the kinetic energy. So here we are going to determine what is the kinetic energy and we are going to equate the kinetic energy to the work done here. Then I am going to get the braking distance value L. Let us see how. So if the vehicle weight is W and moving at a speed of V, in general we are having the of mv square is the kinetic energy. Instead of m, from the physics we are having the W equal to m into g. So from here m equal to W by g into V square. This is the kinetic energy. As I mentioned, we need to equate this kinetic energy to the work done. So from this I am having L is equal to V square by 2gf, where V is the velocity of the vehicle in meters per second and g is the acceleration due to gravity in meters per second square, and f is the frictional component, coefficient of friction 0.35 to 0.4. So now we will see for what velocities these values are. So here if the speed of the vehicles are 30, 40, 50, 60 and 80 greater than 80, then we are having the coefficient of friction values are like this. In general, in the problem, they will give these values. If not, you need to remember this one and you have to use this value. So now what is the total stopping side distance? One is the lag distance. Lag distance is nothing but your Vt value, and braking distance is nothing but the V square by 2gf. So together we are having the final stopping side distance. This is in meters per second. Whereas in case of kmph, this is the value. Just I am going to simplify this one. Then I am going to have the equation like this. So here, whenever we are having the two-way traffic single lane road, please observe single lane, but I am having the traffic in both the direction. Then the stopping side has to be taken as 2 times the SST. Whereas in one-way traffic with single or more lane, then the minimum SSD has to be whatever the obtained SSD value that you can take. This is on a horizontal road surface. Is it possible to have always the plain road surface? No. Mostly we are going to have the some sloping ground road surface. So like this I am going to have the slope. So in this one we are having the vehicle. So whenever the vehicle is on the slope, then how to get the stopping side distance value? Then this is stopping side distance at slope. So this is the diagram. We are having the our vehicle, and the total weight is going to be acting vertically downwards W, but we are having an angle of alpha with the slope. Then the horizontal and vertical components are W sin alpha, W cos alpha for the weight, and friction component is FW cos alpha. So here we need to go for the work done. Work done is nothing but this one plus this one. Then we are going to have this one, and kinetic energy is same of mv square. So by equating these two, I am going to get the distance is equal to L is equal to V square by 2g into F plus N. So here please observe this F plus or minus N, plus or minus N. For this condition, okay. But here the percentage of grade by 10 you need to take. This may be plus or minus depending upon whether you are having the upward gradient or downward gradient. So this is the total equation for SSD at slopes. Lag distance is same, it's not going to be changed, but only variation is in the braking distance because we have taken the slope of that one. Then either you can use this equation or this one also you can use. So this is about the stopping side distance. Hope this is clear to you everyone. Is anyone having the doubt still now? Can I go for the overtaking side distance? Okay. So this is the overtaking side distance. Another important parameter. In general, when we are traveling on a road surface, not all the vehicles are not all the vehicles are going to be traveled with the same speed. Then in that case, one has to overtake that vehicle. So here, please observe this diagram. Please observe this diagram. Here we are having our vehicle is here, and another vehicle is here at the starting point. Please observe, another vehicle is here at the starting point. So I thought to overtake this one because I can't follow the slow moving vehicle. I can accelerate my speed of the vehicle and I can overtake this one and I can reach my destination. So for this one, since this is the starting point where I thought to where I thought to go for overtaking of vehicle, then I am taking the diversion and I am moving in this one. So if you observe this one, by that time I started to overtake, the vehicle also started to travel certain distance. So it has reached up to here. So whenever I am overtaking the vehicle, please observe this one. I can't go for immediately like this in this direction. If I immediately cross this vehicle after overtaking, then this vehicle also moving, so the accidents may be occurred at this point. So I need to travel parallel to this one to certain distance, and after reaching the safe distance, then only I need to cross the lane. Otherwise, the accidents are going to be occurred. So here, what is the minimum side distance that is available for overtaking? That one we are calling as the overtaking side distance. So again here, please observe this one. Please observe this one. In the stopping side distance, we need to stop our vehicle by observing the objects. So the objects may be stationary objects, moving objects also. Then the height of the object is fixed as 0.15. Whereas in case of the overtaking, I need to overtake the vehicle. So when I need to overtake the vehicle means the height of the object is also about the same, similar to my object, that is 1.2 meters as per the standards of IRC. So that one only we need to have. So what are the factors that affect the overtaking side distance? One is the velocities of three vehicles. Please observe. Overtaking vehicle, overtaken vehicle, vehicle coming in the opposite direction. So here, this is the road surface. So this is the margin. I am moving here in this direction, and another slow moving vehicle is there moving in the same direction. Now in the opposite direction, another vehicle is coming. Please observe, it is traveling in the opposite to my vehicle direction. Then here, while overtaking this one, I need to take care of this vehicle also. How much, with what is the velocity of this vehicle, how much velocity it is having, and with how much velocity I need to cross, everything has to be taken care. That means here, velocity of the overtaking vehicle, velocity of the overtaken vehicle, velocity of the vehicle coming in the opposite direction. All these three velocities are required. Based on these three factors, we need to decide. For example, please observe, if I am traveling with a speed of 70, whereas the other opposite vehicle is traveling at a speed of 80, is it advisable to go for the overtaking? Because the opposite vehicle is coming with such a higher velocity than mine. Then how can I take the overtaking process? It's not advisable. That means based on the velocities of all these parameters, we need to go for the overtaking. The velocities plays an important and crucial role. Next one is distance between the overtaking and overtaken vehicles. Please observe. Where I need to start the overtaking process. For example, So this is the first. Let us assume this is as 2, otherwise 2, 3. Can anyone say from which point I can start my overtaking process? 1, 2 or 3? Excuse me. So here, if I have the from 1, then if I start to overtake here, then I need to go into the opposite direction lane and I need to cross this one. That means I am traveling more distance in the opposite lane, which is not advisable. Whereas in point 3, there is no enough distance for me to overtake immediately. That means the velocity of our vehicle in this overtaking process is very high. We are going to accelerate the vehicle speed. So here that possibility is not going to be there for me. When the vehicle is very nearer to the overtaken vehicle, then we may not accelerate that much. And if you are starting the overtaking process from in the longer distance, then you need to travel more distance in the opposite direction. That means there must be certain sufficient distance and optimal distance so that you can have the very comfortable overtaking process. That is, in general, this has to be decided by the driver. Depending on his skill, we need to decide. And next one is skill and reaction time of the driver. This is what I am saying in the previous one. Then how much rate of acceleration the vehicle can have. Some vehicles may not have that much acceleration capacity. Then it is not advisable for such vehicles to overtake the any vehicle. And another one is gradient of the road. Again, depending upon the upward or downward gradient, again the overtaking process going to be varied. So these are the factors that affect the overtaking side distance. Now let us see the analysis of the overtaking side distance. Already we have seen this one. Already we have seen this one. So please observe this slide clearly. We are having three vehicles. Vehicle A, design speed V meter per second or V kmph. Vehicle B, slow moving vehicle with speed VB or VB kmph. Vehicle C coming from opposite direction. So here vehicle A is there. So it is traveling certain distance with the same speed. Please observe this one. Here I am having the B and here I am having another B portion. So please observe this diagram clearly. Very, very important. So initially the vehicle travels with the same speed up to certain distance. After this, the driver thought to overtake the vehicle. Then he is going to deviate from that lane and he is going to cross the lane and he travels certain distance along the opposite lane and he is going to overtake. Now, in this process, the vehicle B also travels from B1 to B2. And in the same way, the vehicle C in the opposite direction traveled at a distance of C1 to C2. So if I observe this diagram, then we are having total three portions. One is the D1. Before overtaking, what is the distance traveled by the vehicle? And during the overtaking process, what is the distance traveled by the vehicle? And what is the distance traveled by the opposite vehicle during the entire process of the overtaking. So D1, D2, D3. Here D2 is B plus 2S again. So if I know these values D1, D2, D3, then I can have the overtaking side distance as D1 plus D2 plus D3. So now let us see how to get these D1, D2, D3 values. Now, already I have explained this one in the previous slide itself. D1 plus D2 plus D3. So how the overtaking process is going to be taken. Same one, just whatever we have observed here in the previous one. I have given the similar one. Now, so let us see how to calculate the D1, D2, D3. In general, D1 is nothing but that distance traveled by the vehicle before overtaking process starts. Then the velocity, please observe this one. Everyone, please listen this one. We are using the velocity of second vehicle. We are using the velocity of second vehicle. Please observe this one. This is the our vehicle A. This is the vehicle B. This is the vehicle C. So here vehicle A comes up to this point. Now when the vehicle A comes behind the vehicle B, then what is the velocity I need to consider for the vehicle A? Is it VA or VB? What is the answer? In general, since before overtaking process, we will reduce our speed because we are following this vehicle up to certain distance, then we thought to overtake. Directly by observing the vehicle, we can't overtake. Just we will follow certain distance, it may be of minimum distance, then only we thought to overtake this one. So what the time required for this process and the velocity has to be taken similar to the velocity of the second vehicle, that is overtaken vehicle. So in general, the reaction time for this one is 2 seconds. So the d1 is going to be 2 times vb. This is in meters per second. And if you know the velocity, then we can have the vb equal to, please observe, this is the thumb rule. Please listen. Here, in some of the problems, they won't give the what is the velocity of the overtaken vehicle or slow moving vehicle. In that case, they will give only the speed of the vehicle, overtaking vehicle A. Then VB can be obtained from this formula, B minus 16 kmph, or it is kmph. If it is in meters per second, V minus 4.5 meters per second. Please remember this formula. Whenever they didn't give the value in the problem, the velocity of overtaken vehicle, then we need to remember this formula to get the velocity of the overtaken vehicle. And calculation of D2, we are having the 3 parts here, S, B, S. You can refer to the diagram, S, B, S, B plus 2S. You can refer to that diagram, B plus 2S. So here, the minimum spacing between the vehicles depends on the speed of the vehicle. We can't say that distance between the vehicles is going to be same. It may be varying. So the formula for this one is, it is empirical formula only. So 0.7 VB plus 6 meters. This is the empirical formula to get the S value. So the distance covered by the slow moving vehicle B traveling at a speed of VB during this process is VB into T. The B value is VB into T. But the problem here is how to get this T value. How to get the T value. So T value can be calculated from this one. T value can be calculated. This is the B value, and we are having 2S equal to of AT square of AT square. So from this T can be given as square root of 4S by A. So from this D2 value will be this one. D2 value will be this one. And D3 value, distance covered by the opposite vehicle in the process of overtaking. Opposite vehicle velocity is V and time is T. So total one is D3. So from this I can have the overtaking side distance as this one, or this one in kmph. So this is about the overtaking side distance. Here, once we know what is the overtaking side distance, if you observe this process, please observe this diagram. Here, we need to have the enough distance to have the overtaking process. To have the smooth overtaking process, we must have the enough distance. So in general, in the overtaking zone, they will provide certain additional width to the pavement also. So the total components can be represented in a single diagram by using the overtaking zone. Overtaking zone. So if they ask the problem on the overtaking side distance, then we need to draw this diagram also. We need to draw the diagram also. Please observe this diagram. So this is the starting and this is the distance of the overtaking side distance, and please observe here the width is going to be high. The pavement width is going to be high when compared to the normal width of the pavement. So here the width of this one can be provided up to a distance of 3 to 5 times the OST. 3 to 5 times the OST. And we are going to have the indication here also at the end that overtaking side distance you can provide the indication so that the driver can be alert and he can easily cross that vehicle. So like this you are going to draw this diagram also whenever they ask a problem on the overtaking side distance. So this is the overtaking zone. So the minimum length of the overtaking zone must be 3, or it can be given as 3 to 5 also. If the width is available, then the overtaking zone can be given as 3 to 5 times the OSD. Otherwise, you can go for only the 3 OSD only. So this is about the overtaking side distances, that is stopping side and overtaking side distances. If you have any doubts, you can ask.
Okay, sir. We will conclude by vote of thanks.
Okay, sir.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ram Mohan, Assistant Professor, Department of Civil Engineering, and I am here to present the vote of thanks for today's webinar session on side distance elements on highways. First of all, I would like to thank our webinar speaker, Mr. P.V. Koteshwar Rao Garu, for taking out time from their busy schedule and enlightening us with their knowledge. And today's webinar session on side distance elements on highways was full of knowledge and interesting things. It gave insights into the topics and revealed some interesting facts. I am pretty sure that the precious knowledge that Mr. P.V. Koteshwar Rao Garu gave will definitely help you in your studies and your future. Once again, I would like to thank Koteshwar Rao Garu for enlightening us with the knowledge. Thank you, sir.
It's my
And I would
honor, sir.
also like to thank our beloved chairman, Vijay Bhaskar Reddy Garu, and principal Dr. Sendil Kumar Garu for giving permission to organize this webinar session. And I want to thank our HOD Harish Kumar Garu and our faculty members who really worked hard to make this event successful. And also thank you to the students present here for paying your attention and learning. I would end my speech here. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for giving me a chance to interact with the students community. I'm very happy to be associated with you. Thanks to the management and head of the department of Samskruti College for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Sir, shall I close the meeting, sir?
Okay, sir. You can.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir.